It's a Facebook investor's nightmare. Millions of shares of the social network hitting the market. Facebook is falling today as the company's lockup expires, freeing up over 271 million additional shares. How will this impact the company? Let's bring in Ken Wisnefski, social media expert and founder and CEO of Webemax, and our resident Facebook expert here on Bottom Line. Ken, good to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate the time. Thanks for having me back.
Ken, Facebook has lost about $40 billion in market value since that May IPO. Now there's the prospect of nearly 2 billion shares flooding the market between now and next May. If the shares are at half their IPO value now, what could they look like over the next 9 months?
Well, I think one of the big concerns that everyone has right now is really what's the consumer confidence in Facebook. If there's a lot of sell-off and a lot of stocks going back out there, the concern is what it's really going to look like after that happens.
Ken, Facebook staggered out of the gate, as you know. Technical glitches at NASDAQ made for an embarrassing IPO, and now early investors might unload a ton of shares. What's there to convince them to hold on to those shares?
I think that what's there is really the hope and the fact that this was really the crown jewel of IPOs that were coming out. I mean, Facebook is really the big name in social media, and the fact that it still has such a huge market share and so much opportunity to really improve. I think people really need to focus on that when they look at the fact that they could be potentially faced with losing a pretty good amount of money here when the stock has fallen as much as it has.
Well, you talk about an opportunity to improve. A lot of analysts are positive on Facebook long term, but investors are apparently still concerned about the company's revenue stream and its mobile prospects. Why the disconnect?
I just think that the fact that there's just so much utilization of it, and Facebook is so ingrained in our society today, it's hard for investors to really look at it from the fact that it can't be a success. And I think when you look at that, the reality of it is I think they feel that at some point they're going to figure out some of these revenue streams and some opportunities that might not be going on right now, and it will basically pick up the revenue and it will become the huge monster success that everyone thought it was going to be when it came out of the gate.
What might some of those opportunities be, in your opinion?
Well, I think one of the big things that you've got to look on, which we always kind of talk about, is really leveraging the mobile side of things, kind of coming up with a concept that's really going to help create more revenue from the mobile application, which people utilize so frequently from their smartphones, logging in and out of Facebook. But I think the big thing really out there is the notion of the payment platform that Facebook could have, kind of Facebook meets PayPal, and utilizing that, I think, is one of the areas that probably has the most overall return for revenue out there than anything else they might be looking at.
And that, Ken, that mobile application, is there a sense that maybe some of the advertisers are saying, you know what, let's give this a shot? Because that had been one of the main concerns. How did they coexist, the mobile app and the advertisers?
I think the advertisers are looking at it as a potential. They know so much is going there. I think a lot of what I've heard Facebook is doing now is they're trying to woo more advertisers and probably giving some really, really good incentives for people to advertise with them, to give them the opportunity to show them some return on investment. So like anything else, if the costs are right and it works and people see return from it, the opportunity to grow it is really there.
Ken, what does Facebook need to do to convince investors that it deserves a higher price relative to earnings than all of its U.S.-based competitors?
I think one of the biggest things that would be great to see here from a Facebook perspective would be, aside from maybe some of the venture firms that are looking to gain liquidity and return from their initial investments, to see a lot of the very key people that got involved with Facebook from an investor and voting standpoint that are still going to stay in it, that feel that this is a blip, that feel that this is not the direction that Facebook's going to go, and rather than kind of selling and getting out, they stick with it. That would give a lot of people the confidence to say this has long-term potential.
Ken Wisnefski is a social media expert and founder and CEO of Webemax, joining us from Philadelphia, talking Facebook. Ken, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you again. I appreciate it very much.
A reminder, you can catch all the top news and videos of the day on our award-winning iPad app, Bloomberg TV Plus. And coming up, the effects of this year's devastating drought continue to spread across U.S. crops. We'll go on the ground in Indiana. Our correspondent Alex Steele will join us when Bottom Line continues in just a moment.